I was never supposed to be there that late, but I couldn't sleep. Too much riding on the Crosswell deal. That contract was the kind of project that made or broke careers, and I was the guy brought in to save it. I figured I'd stop by the office, get a jump on the final deliverables, maybe take another stab at the schedule revisions. It was a little after 10 when I got back from grabbing dinner. The place was dead quiet, lights low, just the hum of the server room echoing down the hall. As I turned the corner by the executive conference room, I slowed. I heard something. My name. Through the cracked door, I could see shadows moving. Nathan, my boss, and Richard, our CEO. Both laughing. Nathan said it first. Once he lands it, we cut him loose. Richard chuckled. Exactly. Let him pull us out of the fire, then we start fresh. I froze, literally, hands still on the doorknob, heart thudding like a kick drum. They were talking about me. 6 months, 18-hour days, no weekends, no vacations. I'd missed my nephew's birthday, skipped my best friend's wedding, worked through the flu. I'd given everything for this deal. And they were planning to dump me the second I delivered. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I backed away from the door without making a sound. My legs felt weird, stiff, like I was made of cardboard. I didn't know what to do. Couldn't walk in, couldn't walk out either. I ended up back at my desk, just sitting there like an idiot, staring at the screen while my ears rang. I opened a spreadsheet just to feel like I was doing something. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but I didn't type a single word. It was after 1 when I finally left. No traffic on the 405. Just me, the dark, and my thoughts chewing me alive. I cried the whole way home, like full-on, wet-faced sobbing. Felt like a fool. Becca had left me 3 months earlier, said she was tired of coming in second to a job that would never love me back. Turns out she wasn't wrong. I didn't sleep that night. Took a shower at 5, got dressed like I was heading to a damn interview. Dark blazer, pressed shirt, clean shave. Looked sharp, like I had something to celebrate. Truth was, I just didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me crack. I got to the office before anyone else, lights still off in the main hallway. I sat down, opened the project timeline, and started reviewing notes like everything was normal. My hands were shaking. At 8:30, Nathan strolled in with a coffee and that fake-ass smile he always wore when he wanted something. I stood up, walked over, said, "We're on track for Friday's checkpoint." He clapped me on the shoulder. "That's what I like to hear, Rob." Like I was some junior analyst who just hit send on his first report. Not the guy carrying his $11.9 million disaster on his back. Valence Consulting wasn't some flashy tech company with ping-pong tables and kombucha. We were the opposite. Gray carpets, rigid org charts, tight margins. But I'd been there 11 years, started in operations, clawed my way up. I wasn't a name on a spreadsheet. I was the guy they called when everything else failed. That's exactly what happened with the Crosswell project. 3 execs had taken a swing at it and whiffed. Budget overruns, blown timelines, pissed off clients. The whole thing was circling the drain when Nathan pulled me into his office 6 months ago. "You're the only one who can fix this, Rob," he said. Like it was some badge of honor. I was dumb enough to believe it. The rest of that day dragged. I tried to focus on the client notes, QA logs, integration dependencies, stuff I usually ate for breakfast. But I couldn't think straight. Every time I saw Nathan walk by, I heard his voice again. Let him land it, then cut him. Over and over. Lunch came and went. I didn't eat. Just kept scrolling through documentation like a robot. Tried answering a couple emails, but I kept rereading the same sentences. My head was a fog of fury and disbelief. No one else knew. Everyone still thought I was the golden boy on a rocket ship to partner track. They smiled at me in the hallway, slapped me on the back like I was about to pull off the impossible. I smiled back, faked it so well I almost convinced myself. Nathan came by around 4. "Need anything from me?" I looked up. "Nope." "We're good." He nodded, gave me that little approving smirk, and walked off like everything was under control. I sat there another 2 hours, pretending to work while fighting the urge to go into his office and just lose it. Scream, throw a chair, something. But I didn't, because deep down, I knew that wouldn't change anything. They'd already made up their minds. So I swallowed it. Swallowed all of it. and I kept showing up. I got home just after 8, dropped my keys on the counter, and stood there in the dark for a full minute. No music, no TV, no Becca. She'd taken most of the furniture when she left. The couch, the frame prints, even the rug I used to trip on walking half asleep to the kitchen. Place looked like a rental again, cold and temporary. I sat on the floor with a beer and stared at the wall. I kept thinking, they're gonna screw me. Not maybe, not possibly, no more denial. Nathan and Richard weren't guessing or hedging. It was already decided. I thought about quitting. Just walking out mid-project, tanking the whole thing, maybe leaking something to the client, making noise, burning it all down. But after 11 years, that would follow me, not them. I'd be the bitter guy who nuked his own rep over office politics. That's when it hit me. I wouldn't burn it, I'd own it, I'd finish the project flawlessly, on time, on budget, polished as hell. But I'd build it my way, layered, subtle, buried beneath the clean UI and sanitized docs. I'd make it so no one else could run it without me. So I got to work. 2 tracks, one for them, one for me. During the day, I was the model employee, clean commits, regular updates, hitting deadlines like a machine. But behind the scenes, I was laying traps. I rewrote key portions of the data pipeline using custom logic that looked simple but relied on nuanced trigger sequences, stuff that wouldn't fail right away, but wouldn't scale or pivot without my input. I logged every decision in a separate document, not the one on the shared drive, mine. I made backups of backups, renamed things in ways only I understood. One variable off, and the whole thing would crawl. Not break, just struggle. Subtle enough that the client would blame the new team, not the system. And I started recording. Nothing sketchy. Just meetings with Nathan where he said things like, "Make sure this looks like a team effort," or, "Once you roll off, Mike can take over documentation." He thought he was being collaborative. I heard every line as a setup. I kept a burner phone in my desk drawer, hit record anytime he walked in. At home, I cataloged everything. Audio, screenshots, time-stamped logs, decision trails. Sleep, minimal. Food, whatever I could microwave in 4 minutes or less. I was running on adrenaline and spite. About a week in, Nathan walked by my desk and said, "You're really in the zone lately." I looked up and smiled. "Trying to finish strong," he nodded. "That's the spirit." Then walked off with that smug bounce in his step, like the leash was already around my neck. I turned back to my screen and locked in. If they wanted the golden boy to land the plane, fine, I'd land it. But I was building the cockpit from memory, and I'd be the only one with the damn map. The deeper I got into building my own insurance policy, the more I realized I needed backup. Legal backup, quiet backup. That's when I started chatting more with Lauren. She worked in legal ops, same floor, a few cubes over from where HR hid their coffee machine. Always dressed clean, never loud, and smart enough to play everything close to the vest. I didn't make it obvious, just casual check-ins in the break room, a few shared lunches at the salad place downstairs. Light talk. Jokes about policy templates, project headaches, company coffee being 1 molecule off from battery acid. At first, she kept it surface level, but once she figured out I wasn't just fishing for gossip, she opened up, just enough. One afternoon, she was picking croutons off her salad when she said, "You'd be amazed how many VPs don't understand wrongful termination rules." I raised an eyebrow. "Even here?" She smiled but didn't answer, just tapped the side of her water cup and said, "Pay close attention to your contract, especially the parts they never bring up during orientation." That night, I pulled up every doc I'd signed in the last decade. Employment agreements, NDA addendums, IP clauses, bonus structure, termination language, everything. I read them like I was studying for the bar exam. Turned out, I still owned the rights to a few pre-employment tools I'd used in my custom build, and if they tried to repurpose them after letting me go, that was a problem for them. Every day I copied files to my encrypted drive. Every project update, every email thread, every commit log. I kept a running change log that showed exactly who did what and when, always highlighting my own fingerprints. I even backed up Slack messages. Meanwhile, Nathan kept checking in, smiling like a proud uncle. "Don't burn out on me, Rob." Or, "Make sure you're getting sleep." the one that really pissed me off. "Take care of yourself, Rob." Said it with that little parental tone, like I was some wide-eyed newbie who didn't know better. I just nodded, smiled. Let him think I was still the good soldier, still grinding for the team. In reality, I was loading ammo. Lauren didn't ask questions, and I didn't tell her too much, but when I started asking about IP protections and post-project payout timing, she didn't blink. Just said, "Keep your records clean." So I did. By the end of that second week, I had a full archive, labeled and time-stamped. If they wanted to cut me out, fine, but they were going to trip over every loose wire I'd laid behind me. 4 days out from deadline, we got an email from the client. Full demo, board level, no room for error. It should have been my moment. I'd done the work. I knew the system top to bottom. But as soon as I walked into the war room that morning, I saw it in Nathan's face. Tight smile, nervous energy. He was gearing up for something. "We're bringing in Mike for the technical walkthrough," he said, flipping through papers like it was just logistics. Mike? The junior dev who hadn't touched the recovery work? He barely knew where the main repo lived. I kept my face straight. "Oh, that's interesting." Nathan didn't even look up. "Just need to spread the exposure a bit. Optics, you know." Yeah, I knew exactly what optics he wanted. Hand Mike the spotlight, sideline me, then parade the win around like it had been some kind of team breakthrough. They thought I was dumb enough to hand it all over and say thank you. I smiled. Sure thing. That night, I booked a private meeting room. No calendar invite. Just an empty room on the 3rd floor no one used after hours. I brought my own laptop, loaded up my version of the deck, the real one. Every fix, every logic branch, every performance spike backed by live data. And then I built Slide 18. Slide 18 was the gatekeeper. Looked harmless, just a systems architecture diagram, but tucked inside were 3 custom components. Mine, proprietary, pre-employment, licensed in my name. Anyone trying to reconfigure or redeploy would need those frameworks. Without them, the whole system slowed to a crawl. I kept it subtle, nothing flashy, just enough to raise questions if they tried to run it without me. Next morning, Nathan handed me a USB. "Updated slides," he said. "Just plug this in during the meeting and we're good to go." I took it, nodded. No problem. Then walked straight to legal. Lauren was out, but her assistant saw me waving the USB. I said, "Need to confirm something in my contract language real quick." He nodded, didn't even ask. Instead of checking contracts, I slipped into the boardroom and loaded my deck onto the system, replaced their version completely, renamed it something boring, client_demo_final_V3. Then I dropped in the last slide, black background, white text, 1 line. Lead developer, Rob Kessler, project completions, terms pending. No logo, no valence header, just my name, unmissable. On the way out, I ran into Mike. He looked nervous as hell, holding a printout of someone else's code with yellow highlighter marks all over it. "Hey, Rob. Nathan said I should be ready to back you up on the walkthrough." I grinned. "Awesome. I'll kick things off, loop you in halfway." He nodded like he appreciated the help. Poor guy had no clue what he was walking into. Back at my desk, Nathan leaned around the corner. "All set?" "Absolutely," I said. He smiled wide. "This is going to be big." I nodded. "It really is." I showed up early, 7:30. Boardroom was empty, polished, cold. I wore the only real suit I still owned, navy blue, tailored back, when I thought I'd be running divisions by now. Still fit, still sharp. I hadn't worn it in years, but that morning I needed to be impossible to ignore. I stood at the head of the table, checking the projector system, when Nathan walked in holding a tablet and in coffee he wasn't drinking. He froze for half a second when he saw me. "Where the hell have you been?" I smiled, buttoned the jacket. "We're good." He looked me over like he was trying to guess what cards I was holding. Before he could say anything else, Mike walked in behind him, dressed like it was his first school presentation. Khakis, wrinkled button up, anxious sweat already forming at the temples. A few more execs filtered in, then the client team. Dr. Elaine Crosswell entered last. She was one of those people who didn't need to talk to fill the room. Short, calm, razor-focused. Her hospital group was the one funding the deal. She was the one that mattered. Nathan cleared his throat. "We'll be starting shortly." Rob and Mike will be co-presenting today's walkthrough. I stepped forward, clicked the remote, and lit up slide 1. Good morning, I said. I'm Rob Kessler, lead on the Crosswell Recovery Initiative. Let's jump right in. Nathan didn't say a word. For the next 30 minutes, I ran the room. Every fix, every choice, every metric, from crash rates to uptime, increases to patient record migration timelines. I laid it all out with precision. No fluff, no filler, just clean results backed by live numbers. Mike sat 2 seats away, gripping his pen so hard his knuckles went white. He hadn't touched a single line of the code I was walking through. Dr. Crosswell kept nodding, flipping through the printed copy I'd prepped for her. Nathan tried to speak once. Just to add, I cut him off. We'll get to that. He tried again 10 minutes later. I didn't even look at him. Let's hold questions till the end. He sat back, lips tight. By the time we hit slide 15, the mood had shifted. I could feel it. Richard, our CEO, was silent, just staring. Then we hit slide 18. This, I said, is where the system's security and performance model lives. I turned to Dr. Crosswell. If you flip to slide 18 in your handout, you'll see the 3 modules that drive the adaptive failover logic. Those were architected independently and require proprietary integration keys, pre-built, pre-owned. In other words, licensed code. She glanced at the slide. This is yours? Yes, ma'am. Developed independently prior to my employment here. Used here under permissive license. Silence. Then I looked straight at Richard. Now, before we wrap, I said, I want to address something that came to my attention recently. I changed slides, black screen, white text. Lead developer, Rob Kessler. Project completion, terms pending. I've learned that I'm scheduled to be removed from this project immediately following this meeting, I said. Dr. Crosswell's eyes narrowed. Is that true? Richard opened his mouth, but I kept going. The quote was, let him land it, then cut him. I heard it myself. 2 voices. One of them is in this room. The room went dead quiet. Richard shifted in his chair like he'd been stabbed. Nathan looked like he wanted to disappear through the floor. I also have recordings, I said. Lie? Sure, but I said it like it was gospel. And a full audit trail of every asset I developed for this system. Dr. Crosswell stood, not dramatic, just deliberate. If he built it, she said, he finishes it. I want Rob on every rollout phase, full authority. She turned to Richard. And I want that locked into the new contract today. He started to stammer. She cut him off with a wave. I clicked to the final slide. My name, my title. No Valence logo, just the truth. Let's make it official, I said. As soon as the boardroom cleared, Richard barked, Rob? Now Nathan trailed behind him like a kicked dog. They led me into a smaller glass conference room across the hall. Richard shut the door, dropped his voice. What do you want, Rob? I didn't flinch. Permanent lead role, in writing. 5% of contract value as bonus. Immediate cancellation of all termination plans. Legal signs off? Richard blinked. 5%? That's 600,000, Nathan muttered. I looked him dead in the eye. 600,000 for saving your ass. Richard leaned on the table like he needed support. And what else? Final condition, I said. Once rollout is done, I walk, with full severance. And no non-compete. Nathan rubbed his forehead like he was gonna throw up. Richard looked at me like I'd just flipped over the damn table. You're asking us to pay you to leave, he said. No, I said. You already planned to kick me out. I'm just making sure you pay for it. Silence. Then Richard exhaled. Fine. Legal's drawing it up. Nathan started to say something, probably a last-ditch whine, but Richard shut him up with a look. We walked back down to legal. Sarah was already at her desk, typing like she'd been waiting for this. I handed her the list. She glanced at it, smirked. Bold. I like it Nathan wouldn't make eye contact. Richard just folded his arms and stared at the ceiling. 10 minutes later, Sarah brought out the draft. Everything exactly as I said. Full authority until project completion, 600 grand bonus upon delivery. Clean exit, no clause. Sign here, she said. I signed. Richard followed. Nathan hesitated, then scribbled his name like it hurt. After that, word spread like wildfire. The interns stared at me in the break room like I was the CEO now. People who hadn't said 2 words to me in months suddenly wanted to grab lunch or circle back on a few ideas. Even senior staff, directors, old guard types stopped by my desk to see how things were going. They didn't say it out loud, but it was all over their faces. I wasn't just the guy who pulled off the impossible. I was the guy who stood up to the people in charge and won. After that contract was signed, I didn't slow down for 1 second. For the next 6 months, I ran that project like a damn military op. No slip-ups, no delays. Every deadline hit clean, every update logged, every moving part mapped down to the hour. I wasn't doing it for Nathan, definitely not for Richard. I was doing it for me, because when I walked out, I wanted them to know exactly what they lost. The dev team fell in line fast. They saw the shift. I wasn't just the guy who led the recovery. I was the guy running the entire rollout now, and no one questioned it. Even the client team responded differently. Weekly calls turned into daily check-ins, but not the frantic kind. We were ahead, confident, efficient. Nathan got reassigned within the month. No memo, no announcement. Just disappeared from the project calendar one day and popped up in some internal systems optimization group. Translation, padded seat in the back office. Nobody asked why. Nobody had to. Richard kept his distance. When we crossed paths, all I got were stiff nods and the occasional good work. He never looked me in the eye. That was fine by me. I didn't need praise. I wanted the win on paper, and I got it. By the time our final quarterly review rolled around, I had a 3-ring binder full of clean deliverables and a dashboard that could have sold itself. Dr. Crosswell flew in for the final demo. She watched the whole thing from the end of the table, arms folded, not saying much, until the end. She stood up, shook my hand, and said, "Best delivery lead I've worked with in 15 years. No question." That was the moment. Not the boardroom ambush, not the contract terms. That. I didn't smile, didn't celebrate. Just nodded and said, "Appreciate it, ma'am." The next morning, I walked into the office at 8, just like usual. Except this time, I wasn't holding a laptop. I was holding my resignation letter, typed, signed, 1 copy. I dropped it on Sarah's desk in legal. She didn't even blink, just pulled open her drawer, took out an envelope, and handed it over. Check inside, big number, final bonus. Severance, no strings. She gave me a look and said, "You earned this one?" I nodded. Damn right I did. Then I walked out. No speeches, no hallway claps, no fake goodbyes. Just a clean exit on my terms. 2 months later, I was sitting in a glass-walled corner office that actually had sunlight when the email came in. Subject line, "They're screwed." Sender, Mike. I almost laughed. The body was short. 3 more leads had quit. 2 major contracts pulled. Nathan? Quietly let go the week before. No announcement, no farewell. Just gone. I didn't reply, didn't need to. I already knew how the rest of that story played out. I was too busy onboarding new hires at Crosswell's HQ. Same hospital network, new office, new team, new boss. And this time, she didn't smile at the wrong people or pat me on the head like a good boy. Dr. Crosswell brought me in herself, said, "I want you running the full operation, digital systems, tech infrastructure, strategy." Everything she offered double what I made at Valence. Base pay, equity, signing bonus, the works. I said yes before she finished the sentence. Now I was building my own department, from scratch. Every engineer, every analyst, every ops lead, I picked them. No dead weight, no politics, no ladder climbers who shook hands better than they coded. If they had talent, they got in. If they delivered, they stayed. Simple. And every single one of them knew this much. I didn't forget where I came from. I didn't forget the fake smiles, the long hours, the betrayal behind closed doors. I didn't forget what it felt like to be one deliverable away from getting tossed like trash. So I made sure nobody under me would ever feel that again. Not on my watch. Revenge doesn't always come with slashed tires or screaming matches. Sometimes it's quieter, cleaner. Sometimes it's just you, walking away calm while the empire behind you falls apart on its own. That boardroom presentation, that wasn't just a demo. It was the moment I stopped being a name on a resource plan. It was the day I stopped being disposable and became untouchable.